Hello, all my hypotheticals. It's PlayerTwo, and I'm here with Star of Wisdom, Triposer, and Connor, bringing you the Soul Silver Heart Gold Teamlocke. And my oh my, are we still behind? But it's my time for a topic. Yeehaw! And there's a Pelipper that I can maybe catch. Let's try to do that. But yes, that's its name.
Pelipper.
Yeah, Pelipper.
Pelipper.
That trainer just sent out a Darkrai.
Ooh.
That's a neat encounter.
So here's my topic, and I forgot that I had this topic until just now. It's about icons and video game icons, to be specific. And so the topic is not so much what we consider to be iconic games. But I want to talk about what we think will be considered iconic games in the future. So, like, in a previous episode, we talked about generations and how all of us are of a generation or group that kind of grew up kind of in between generations. And so, while we remember a time without technology, we also remember a time where video games were something as simple as, like, Pac-Man and maybe, like, Pokemon Snap. Like, things that just aren't even
3D
comparable
games.
to video games.
We've seen at least the latter end of the development of 3D games, because I forget what year it was that like Ocarina of Time and Mario 64 came out, but I feel like that was
Mario 64. I think was 1997.
Yeah, I want to say they were around 97, and so it was like we were just seeing 3D finally becoming like a medium in gaming, which is kind of impressive when you think about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and we can talk about what we've considered iconic games as well. Like, I'm totally down to do that. But like, for instance, I think us as kids, even if we didn't play games like Pong or Tetris or Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man, we knew that they were kind of responsible for how games came to be, like the games that we ended up playing came to be. And so I more or less am interested in like people's subjective thoughts on what will be considered iconic in the future. And so I'll wipe out the things that are objectively going to affect how people view games. Minecraft, because it's a game that's constantly updated and it's been significant for so long that like it can't be ignored.
Right. It already falls into that category of past games that it's like it's established itself and its impact on the genre that or on games in general, that we know that Minecraft is influential. So yeah.
I think this is rock water. Let's try hitting it with a shockwave. I could have just hit it with a low kick. That would have made more sense. Anyway, so then there's, I would say, Skyrim. Not necessarily because it is inherently a good game. It is a good game, but with its DLC, it makes it a great game. And then when you add into the fact that, like, it's kind of, I would say, the flagship of games that indicate that it's not just the developers that can make a good game. The fans can also add on and make it better. And so I think aspect. Yeah, the modding aspect. And so, like, being able to point to a game and say, hey, this is... It's a good game, sure, but look at how indicative it is of, like, being able to open... Like, how good a game can be if you open it up to the fans. And I think from there we've been seeing a lot of, like, kind of indie games become, like, rivals to AAA games in some ways.
Sure, yeah.
And then there was a third one that I had that it was, like, irrefutably going to be seen as iconic, and I honestly can't remember what it was, but maybe it will come up when people talk about their subjective
views. Maybe, was it, like, Portal or something?
See, like, the games like Portal, Half-Life, Halo, like, they're definitely memorable. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're iconic in the way that they will... Yeah.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because I really like Halo, but, gee, I honestly can't remember what it was. Well, now that I'm opening it up to you guys, maybe it will come back. Yeah, I'll remember.
So it sounds like what we're trying to do is we're trying to pick out the games in maybe the past 5 years or so that will be looked back on as classics.
Any games that are just still being played regularly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
Wait,
mean,
5
Skyrim
years?
was
Because
Skyrim
I'm
was
thinking
made,
of like most games that came out like before 2015 at this point have had enough time to establish themselves as like, yes, that's a given that was a classic. Like I forget when Skyrim was, but I think that was 2011. Yeah. So I'm sort of thinking like if we look at games older than 2015, I think chances are they will have already passed into that realm of having proven themselves. Whereas the games that we're still seeing right now, we don't necessarily know for sure. Like the one that jumps out to me that I was just going to talk about right away is obviously Fortnite, and we've talked about this in a Pokemon episode, where my opinion is not so much that Fortnite is going to do something for. I mean, we've already seen the battle royale genre like really pick up, and I think that's mostly as a result of PUBG and Fortnite. But I think that the larger impact of Fortnite, like I talked about in that Emerald episode a long time ago, was the infrastructure that Epic is setting up to allow people to connect with each other online. I think that will be genre defining, but we haven't seen Fortnite actually do that yet. They're just starting to move into that. So that was one thing where like I just wanted to recognize that having that potential, but also that we're definitely still not there yet. So I'm not willing to actually say Fortnite as a impactful game in that sense yet. But it's something that I'm watching, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't like giving Fortnite any sort of credit because I hate it, but but I can understand. Like, the thing is, I don't know if Fortnite is just gonna be like this fad that dies out, because we're already seeing that it's not carrying on as strong.
It's struggling right now, particularly with Fall Guys and Among Us.
But then if you like, will it even be remembered in like a couple of years? Is my question.
That is the question for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's even where I would say not even so much Fortnite, but just looking at what Epic does next in terms of like, because I really do think that they are moving in a direction of trying to set up basically an online infrastructure where like I think that if we ever get to the point of having a virtual reality hub world sort of thing, I think Epic will be some of the pioneers for that.
Thank you. You reminded me what the third objective one was.
Oh yeah, VR chat?
No.
Okay.
No. Actually, it goes further back than that.
Okay.
And you might disagree, but let me
yeah, I'm curious to hear what this is.
Wii Sports.
RuneScape.
Ooh, Wii Sports. That's a really good pick.
That reminded me of the fourth one, Connor. World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Wii Sports I do really agree with. I like, in terms of like something that was like palatable for just about everyone, and like just the universality of it, like absolutely.
And it also launched, I mean, VR essentially, because it started with motion capture.
Yeah.
Not quite motion capture. I realize that sensors don't work the exact same way, but
right.
but
the idea of motion controls are integral to virtual reality. So yeah.
Right.
I think that's a good insight.
Wait, so these are iconic games from...
These are iconic games that we're not picking. We're just agreeing that like these have already reached a level where you could look at them, and I think most people would agree.
Okay.
What we're interested now in doing is like picking out some games that most people might not agree, because I think they haven't been around long enough to establish themselves. Like this would be like someone saying Ocarina of Time is going to revolutionize gaming when Ocarina of Time released, is kind of what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah. And like the thing with just to wrap up World of Warcraft and Wii, just in case there are people like watching that disagree. Well, World of Warcraft is essentially like the king of MMOs, like and like any MMOs that are created in the future will have to pay homage to World of Warcraft. And then Wii Sports, just because like when that came out, it was essentially the Wii and the Kinect that were doing motion controls, and the Kinect didn't do it well. The Wii did it in a charming way. We'll
Right.
call it that.
The Wii did it
I don't think
better.
Yeah,
Not
neither of them
necessarily
did
good,
it well, but at the very least, it was enjoyable for the Wii, and like, it ended up kind of steamrolling the that area of the market. But anyway, now we'll go on to subjective, as Jupiter was talking about. He brought up Fortnite.
Yep. Which,
And,
again, I also personally don't really enjoy Fortnite as a game, but it's just still something where I can see the potential for where Epic could move with it, and that's what I'm more interested in.
I think the problem with a lot of games that are popular these days, and it could be considered like the most iconic or like defining games of the past, whatever, how many years, 5 years, is that they all seem way too commercialized compared to the games that we played in our childhoods that are considered iconic or important. Like games like Skyrim, it's a single player experience, and it's like that revolutionized RPGs, I feel like. Or I mean, it was a really good example of a good RPG.
And an open world too. That was one of the first really successful open world games.
I guess that's a better label for what it was important for. But games today that are really popular, like Fortnite, I was gonna say, not really Rocket League, but I feel like the biggest games that people play today are online competitive games.
Sure. Yeah.
And by nature, those games I feel like are going to be way more commercialized and just kind of
I think one thing that I would say about that is that I think one thing that you maybe are kind of getting at is that these games that are big nowadays, if they didn't keep receiving support, like continual updates, they wouldn't hold on the same way. Like you look at like something like Pac-Man or Tetris. Yeah, Tetris has been released over and over and over again, but the original Tetris didn't need DLC, didn't need update, it didn't need in-app purchases. And you can say that about any of these classic games and be like, that did it on its own. Whereas most games that would be influential nowadays are just, they kind of rely on that. That element of being continually supported. And if it doesn't receive continual updates, people stop paying attention to it relatively quickly. So, also, I just beat the gym leader.
Oh, I actually meant to mention I beat it a couple minutes ago.
Okay, nice.
Dang.
Wait, what does Destiny Bond do?
Destiny Bond...
It means...
Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
It means if the Pokemon that you're facing dies, it may take your Pokemon with it.
Oh, that sucks. Can I switch out?
It will take your Pokemon.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. So, yeah, if the Pokemon you're attacking who use Destiny Bond faints, your Pokemon will also faint.
Can I switch out? Does that help?
You can, but they can just use Destiny Bond again.
Switching out. It's only for the turn that they've used it. So, like, if they do another move, and then you kill it, then you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's using Destiny Bond on all my Pokemon.
It's all about timing. If it only knows Destiny Bond, you're kind of screwed.
Is it a trainer battle?
Yeah.
Well, that's choose which Pokemon you want to die.
I mean,
either that or just PP stall it until, like, just keep switching until it starts to struggle. I think it's like 20 PP.
Okay.
But yeah, I think picking the Pokemon that you are least interested in, like the one that you would be most willing to give up.
No.
Oh, it just used counter.
Please, no.
Yeah, it has.
Damn it.
That's probably fine then, right? I can probably kill it now.
Probably.
Totu is dead.
No!
Lucario used a counter.
Oh,
he's fighting Steel, right? I'll just Fire Fang him, and I did, and he went down to like 10 HP, and then he countered me. I'm like, nice. Thanks,
That sucks.
I was gonna say, this Togetic just used Metronome, and I was waiting for it to hit Explosion. I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming. It hit Brine, though, so it was okay.
Okay. Wait, I think. Oh, never mind. My encounter for Mount Mordor is a Poliwhirl.
Ooh.
All right. Also, someone needs to keep me updated on the time because my Audacity window decided to be really big, and now I can't see.
I don't
Try
have
fixing it, but-
a timer.
I think we're like
on my recording.
I think we're like 13 minutes right now.
It is 5 p.m., Zach.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
I got you.
Thank God for Asa, right, everybody?
That's what I say every day.
Okay, so far we've brought up just Fortnite, right?
Yeah. That was the one that I had with a disclaimer attached to it.
More
Right.
like Fortnite.
And I think Asa was in the process of leading up to something because he was talking about how a lot of the
Online games.
yeah, rely upon online playability.
Well,
Well, Asa, you're a fan of Red Dead, right? Do you think that's like
do I think it's a like?
iconic, or do you think it's just building off of like existing games like Skyrim and Fallout?
I don't think it's necessarily. It's definitely iconic. I don't think it's revolutionary in any way. It's an open world game that tells a really good story. It's very cinematic, but other games have been like that. I don't think it's. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but it's not revolutionary. I don't think.
Like
It's really,
it's,
really
it's not
good.
it's not a trend setter. It's something that benefited from trends being established, and
we'll
it did a
see.
really
I
good
mean,
job of
like.
fixing them. It could be.
If we start seeing more and more huge games like that tell a very cinematic, that provide a very cinematic experience and tell a really good story, but I don't really know enough. I don't play enough video games to know if Red Dead was really the first to do that, and I would have to just doubt that it was.
Yeah, I think there have been other games that have tried to tell cinematic stories, but Red Dead
the
definitely
first Red Dead Redemption.
stands out. Yeah,
like-
but yeah, Red Dead stands out as being one that did that. Again, I haven't played it, but I've heard enough people talk about it that I think people would agree that it did that very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And showed that like there is a market for that. I think that's part of it, is like we're trying to look at games that showed that there is a market for something that people might not have expected. Because that's what's gonna establish whether or not something hangs on for a long period of time, or what establishes that other game developers are going to make similar games is when they see that, like, I mean, you look at the battle royale genre. It's like you needed one or two to be really successful, and then everyone tried it, and most of them were not successful. But it showed that like there is a market for this.
I think Witch Hunt really revolutionized the horror game genre.
Witch Hunt?
No, I'm kidding.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say I've never heard of this game.
Seriously though, for the horror game genre, PT, there were a ton of games after, but that's not a big genre though, so it's not like people are going to look back on that. And
I think it's pretty big in the indie scene, like indie horror games. I feel like that's definitely a thing, but I don't know what you would trace that back to as like what really set that off, because I haven't played enough horror games myself. But yeah, my thing is, I think we can look at what are the biggest games right now, and do we think that those are going to hang on? And the two absolute biggest games at the moment of recording this, which may not be true whenever this gets uploaded, but the two absolute biggest games right now are Fall Guys and Among Us. And I think Among Us is not necessarily new. It's a really cool take on something that has been done many, many times before in a non-video game format. And so even though I think Among Us, they've already announced they're going to make a sequel for it, and that's really cool, I don't think it's going to be like, this genre-defining thing by any means. I think it's just a really good game. I think Fall Guys has potential, again, in that way of if they keep it updated and they keep... I think what Fall Guys has the potential to do is really bring party games, like online party game, back to a forefront in a way that we haven't seen before. Like, most online games tend to like err more on the side of competitive, and you definitely see people taking Fall Guys seriously and playing it competitively, but it's a party game, and like really showing that yes, there is a market for having big online party games. And it also mixes in elements of the battle royale genre just by having a bunch of people all able to interact with each other. So I think Fall Guys has more potential right now, but I could also see Fall Guys being one that just, it's really hot for a good couple seasons in game, and then no one else ever successfully recaptures the spark that it had, and then it gets replaced by something else. So
that's
I
kind
think
of how I'm seeing
it could go either way.
Both of those games right now, is they're really trendy right now.
Right.
But I mean,
I wouldn't stake my bets on saying that Fall Guys is going to revolutionize gaming. I think that between the two of them, of being really big right now, I think it has a better chance of having an impact on the field of gaming. But I would agree. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
Here's my point to both those games.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep in mind what's going on while those games are coming out.
That's also true.
And the thing is, I would say the biggest appeal to things like Fallout and Among Us is that they're both just like games where you can hop in with friends and just or even like very quickly socialize with people, have quick games, and then be on your way to work or like on your way to bed or whatever. Oh right, Arcanine's dead again. Gotta go put that in the PC. So like I can't see Among Us being super popular once, like, the thing is, what's happening is a bunch of non-gamers are gaming right now, because that's the only way to socialize with friends. So once a bunch of non-gamers hop out, you're just going to be left with the Call of Duty and
I don't know. We might see a lot more people transitioning to becoming more casual, like regular casual gamers. But I think you make a really good point that recognizing that a reason why these social games are so strong right now is because it's one of the only ways that we have to socialize as a society. You look at Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing's success is 100%. I mean, yeah, it was a really great version of Animal Crossing, but it was really key that it released at the time that it did for it to blow up. And that's why I would say that, this Animal Crossing isn't necessarily going to revolutionize gaming moving forward. But yeah, no, I think that's a smart insight.
You know what the most iconic game, though, from the past maybe 15 years? Star Wars: The Complete Saga. Kick some brick in 1 through 6. That's what the back of the game told me.
That's a fair point, Asa. Like, not even because I showed Connor they're remaking it.
Yeah,
are they really?
It looks great. It looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
that could actually be really cool. I think that was one of the biggest things that it suffered from was like you have this idea of Lego Star Wars. But so many of the environments in the original games that they tried weren't actually built out of Lego. It was really just minifigures. So if they really updated the graphics and really made it feel like you're playing in a Lego set again, that could actually be really cool.
This game makes you feel like Lego.
Exactly. Why can't we just feel like Lego, huh?
I'm covered in so many nodes!
But yeah, no, that's a fair point. I do think the Lego games, at the very least, suggested that you can have kind of, we'll say, kiddie games outside of Nintendo that people just genuinely enjoy.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Connor, do you have any thoughts on this? Because I have one thing I'll push for, but
I mean, I like have a hard time like believing that like I don't, because like if we're talking about like games that are going to be iconic like 10-20 years down the road, like in the point that we keep coming back to is the fact that like they need to be like revolutionary in terms of like game mechanics and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think there's anything at this point, or anything that I've at least seen that has like necessarily changed the game. I mean, the one thing that did pop into my head that I feel like will stick around like a lot of its predecessors have, and granted this isn't like a brand new game, but like if we're talking about games that are going to be like carry the the playability around for a long time and are probably going to be held in high regard. I mean, Super Mario Odyssey is really, really hard to put away, and to push to the side. That's really the only thing that I could think of that was really just popped to the forefront of my mind in terms of a game that is so iconic just based on the specific things that it did and the specific take that it took on the franchise. Because I mean, in the other part of it is, if we look at how much of our gaming culture at this point, outside of all the party games, the Fall Guys, that sort of thing, so much of what we see now is remakes of classic games. That's
that's
large portion of those major AAA titles that are coming out are just I mean, if you look at the classic games that have, or if you look at the big releases that have come out this year, it's the Final Fantasy VII remake. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Last of Us Part 2, but which isn't necessarily a remake, but is also
it's not original. It's a building off of something that existed.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess you can kind of take Super Mario Odyssey and put it in that same sort of vein, but I feel it did enough things differently to where it deserves its own merit, based on its own grounds. But I think that's a part of the difficulty of what we have now in because games are starting to become old. Gaming culture is starting to become old. The people that had the Super Nintendo when they were kids, those people are in their 30s and 40s now, and they want to see these recreations of the classic games that they had when they were kids. And really, I feel a lot of the development that's happening, and specifically the development over the last 5 years, has kind of gone stale. I feel a lot of games are more going towards playing things safe and doing things that people already held in high regard, rather than trying new and dangerous things with game mechanics.
Yeah, I think we've really been in an era of trying to perfect things that have been introduced before. Like you look at the open world genre being introduced with Skyrim back in 2011. I think that the entire decade of the 2010s in gaming was various groups trying to really hit the nail on the head with how do you make a good open world game. And towards the end of the decade, we finally got there with stuff like Breath of the Wild, Red Dead Redemption. You have, these massive games that finally got it right. And I don't see very many games right now that are pulling a Skyrim in introducing this is a big mechanic. I think we might not see that until VR gets prominent again, because so much of it is tied to hardware. And you look at open world games, and those just weren't possible without the hardware to support that. But now, looking at the next generation of consoles, and they're just stronger. What is beyond open world? Many open worlds, maybe, but we already kind of almost had something like that. So I think we might have to wait until we see the hardware change to support new gameplay. And the next opportunity for that, I think, might be in virtual reality.
Okay.
I think it's just bigger open worlds and better open worlds. I mean, those are really...
Yeah, it can absolutely still get better. I didn't mean to say that Breath of the Wild did it, it's done. No, there could definitely still be better open world games.
But I mean, I think it's just a concept more so than a specific. That Breath of the Wild, you had one thing that really stood out to me about that game is that you could enter buildings without, well, maybe some lag, but it wasn't a loading screen.
Right, it wasn't a separate environment.
I think open world is not really going to fade out as a genre, obviously. I think multiple open worlds is going to be certainly the case, just larger and on a grander scale and more fleshed out. I think we're just going to be, frankly, blown away by...
I think that's true.
The level of, it's going to be, full worlds with, people who don't all look the same, like not all just recycled models or whatever.
Right.
It's gonna be like they're gonna have like their own. I don't know. I feel like that's gonna be what it
The level
evolves
of
into.
detail that goes there. Yeah. But again, that's still not new. Like, no open world game at this point is going to be iconic for being open world because it's an established thing in gaming and everything. They're building off of it, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to build off of existing stuff. That's actually a really good thing.
But yeah, I get you.
But yeah, for the purposes of what we're trying to pick out, I don't know. I'm curious, Zach, what your thoughts are here.
So
on what games you were thinking of.
I think it's a game that only I have played Among Us 4. And it has a lot more to do with the mechanics of the game rather than its content.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
Okay.
And so what these two games introduce is the Nemesis system, which essentially makes it so that the AI remember everything you do to them. Like anything that involves them, the AI will remember you did that, and they will react accordingly. And it's every single one. So I think that is the next point for like video games and anything with a story, is being not just open world but open story, and truly having open story where every person's game is going to be different.
Sure.
And I don't mean along the lines of like Animal Crossing where like, oh, everybody has their different neighbors and different villagers, whatever.
That's pretty shallow.
Like straight up, you all start with like the same characters, but then from there you get a completely different story based off of how those characters interact with you. And I know that other story games like Mass Effect and I'm trying to think of another one, but like sure,
I
like
think Nier Automata, like I heard a lot of people that were talking about Nier Automata when it came out, and they said that it felt a lot like that, in that like it felt like the game was kind of reacting to your decisions along the way, and I heard a lot of people that really like that game as well, based on a similar kind of point of view.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, is just looking at just having more intelligent artificial intelligence in games, and really having things that react beyond a certain number of parameters. Like not just, oh, you shoot me, I raise my hands, and now I give you a worse deal when you buy things from me, you know?
Right.
But, like, actually having people who are like, you shot me, and they go back and they tell people, this person shot me, and then they gang up on you, like, later in the game. Like, really having
not just that, but,
responses.
Like, not just that, but, like, oh, this person stole from me, now I'm gonna hunt this person down and kill him. And, like, now, oh, shoot, this person's hunting me down, I either need to ignore them, or I need to kill them, in which case the shopkeeper or whatever is no longer available. And stuff like that. Like, what keeps me from loving Skyrim so much is that, like, some characters just aren't killable.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds awful, but, like, it's just a matter of, like, if someone annoys me in this game, I should be able to kill them and then deal with the consequences of, like, oh, well, now this person's dead, you can't do this quest anymore. And so I think that would be interesting. It's just, like, certain quests are just, I think it would be a good lesson too for younger gamers. Like, you killed this person, you can't you can't do this quest, that you can't get this item anymore because you killed this person. And so I know that the Nemesis system or whatever has, as far as I know, has not been applied to any major game. And I know that they're going to be working on like a sci-fi game next. And I'm interested to see how that goes. And like I think the shadow games will be pointed to in like classes on games and stuff in the future as like, this is what revolutionized AI and how they respond. I don't think the games are like phenomenal or anything. I just think the mechanic inside of it is something I have yet to see in other games. Yeah,
I think it would be really interesting. Again, like you assumed at the beginning, I have not played any of these games. But from what I've seen of the gameplay that you uploaded on your channels, or on your channel, it seems like I think it's cool that the AI has that ability to react and remember, but the capacity that it has to react in, at least from the gameplay that I've seen, it's like it's happening in enclosed maps, and the maps are like spread out, and there's many of them, but I didn't get the impression that it was like, I don't know, like the AI can remember stuff, but I don't know that it has as much freedom to actually act on that.
So
if that makes
here's
sense.
the thing. What you were seeing in my gameplay is a very small part of the game where you
that's
just
what I was wondering.
besiege. And the thing is, I'm besieging my own fortresses.
Right.
So, like, there's that. But there are times where a guy will straight up hunt you down across different maps. And he'll find you and he'll be like, I've been traveling for days trying to get to you. And I finally found you, whatever. And so stuff like that happens. Something that happens within the campaign of Shadow of War is that it takes your biggest rival from Shadow of Mordor, which was the previous game, and brings him in, and he's like, hey, Father Mucker, I'm here now. You left me behind, but guess what? I didn't forget about you. And it's just
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I would even point to that as being a more massive feature of just games remembering stuff from previous games. That is a big one that I really want to see. Even in something as simple as Pokemon, I just want to... The most frustrating thing in Pokemon games is when you have, in past games, like, you play through Ruby or Sapphire, and then a couple of years later you bring out Emerald, and you gotta start from the beginning. I want, when I pick up the third version of Pokemon, I want it to be... I have all my Pokemon from the previous game. They're all at level 100. They're like, operating on another level. I want to see games that really just build off of where you left off. And... yeah, I think that would be really, really cool, and hearing that that's something that series did, like actually pulling data from another game and porting it forward, that feels consequential to a player, you know, like that is rewarding to have played a game and stuck with a series, and yeah, that's really cool.
I think Mass Effect does that to some degree.
Remembering choices, like remembering endings.
Yeah, like I think it's only from Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3. But, sadly, this is where we're gonna wrap up, unless someone has something that they really need to add on to what's been said, because I feel like we didn't talk about the end thing between all four of us. So Connor and Asa, if you have something to say about that. If not, then we'll just wrap this up. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
I am in a trainer battle. So
son of a biscuit.
As you do.
All right.
I also caught us a viper. So I mean,
that's cool.
It's a point. that is a point for us.
Yeah,
so
that's how that works.
Yep.
Indeed.
I will break the rules really quick and say that Minecraft Hunger Games is what paved the way for Fortnite.
That's a good point.
Well, yes.
Recognizing that the Battle Royale and we talked about that in the Emerald episode too, that the Battle Royale genre didn't start with PUBG and Fortnite. They were just the ones that really popularized it to that extent of being more than just a game mode in another game and being its own game.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the whole premise. But yeah, no, that is definitely an important thing to recognize.
And then also I should have thought about, while Connor's finishing up his game, I should have thought about the reverse effect of it, that games like Kingdom Hearts and Black Ops Zombies will teach developers how to not make a terrible, trashy, awful story.
Yeah, like literally just like using like a story doesn't have to be linear, right? Like it doesn't have to be just like A, B, C, right? But it can't just be like A and then you have 30 options and some of them just go to like weird Swahili words and hieroglyphics and like there's gotta be an in-between, guys. There's gotta be somewhere in between where we can just like have a complicated story but not make it so that there's no point to actually looking into it because it's just turtles all the way down, right? So it's like there's no reason because it just keeps going into this endless bag of nonsense.
I think I know what Connor's next topic is going to be. So anyway, we'll end with that. I'm hoping.
I'm not done.
Why? Stop clapping.
There are 5 Pokemon in this trainer battle. Also, Blaziken got poisoned, so this is officially an episode.
Yay!
Oh my gosh.
I've fallen so far behind Asa and Jupiter because like every Pokemon I run into, every trainer battle is just like, we're gonna keep you here for forever. Thanks.
Okay, I need to give my Blaziken an antidote before I forget at the start of next episode.
That's fair. I'm just killing a Piplup.
I need to remember where you get Surf, because I'm at the Lake of Rage, and
I think you get an Ecruteak, actually.
Do you get an Ecruteak?
Somebody told me on the beach that you should go to Ecruteak. I think that's what I read. I was clicking through it without reading it.
Well, we're wrapping up.
Okay.
I have Surf.
I'm good.
So...
Yeah, I
am good.
Grab it.
Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I'll have to edit this video down, so if...
Oh wait, my egg just hatched.
Okay,
I want to see
let's
what
hear
it
that.
is.
Let's hear that.
Because this has gone forever. It's gotta be a rare encounter, right? So it's an Ammonite.